Hello, this is Sondra Oster Baras, bringing you a few words of Bible from the heart of Biblical Israel. This week's Torah portion is Shoftim, a Hebrew word literally for judges. And if we look at the first few verses in this Torah portion, indeed, there is a tremendous focus on issues having to do with justice. We have commandments. It's a list of commandments. But what is so special here is, if you think about it, the Bible is a foundational document for our faith. For the Jewish faith and later the Christian faith also drew and draws from the Bible a foundational document. And in most cases, a foundational document of faith will deal with faith. It will deal with miracles. It will deal perhaps with stories of our forefathers, of the way the nation began or where the people began, and of course having to do with faith and miracles and things of that nature. The commandments, the fact that you have laws, makes a great deal of sense, particularly when you have laws having to do with the nature of the faith. Laws having to do with celebrations, laws having to do with sacrifices, other rituals. And indeed, in addition, there are many commandments in the Bible that are unique to the Jewish people. They may not, at least on its face, have that much to do with rituals, but you can definitely say they're unique. And if it weren't for the fact that the Bible commanded them, you would never think to do them. On the other hand, there's quite a number of commandments in the Bible that would seem to make sense. They're just logical. They would seem to be the foundation of any kind and just society. And therefore, sometimes when you read commandments like that, you might think that they were extraneous. Like, what do you need them for? Everybody knows that, or everybody would understand that. So I would like to focus on those kind of commandments because I think sometimes we forget that the Bible is not just to tell us these things that are unique, but is also to remind us that when you're a kind and just person, that is also part of what God expects of you as a human being. It's not something we take for granted, but the whole Bible is predicated as well on the demand of God to do justice and to act morally. So let's start. Okay, so the first verse. We are in chapter 16, verse 18. You shall appoint judges and police or officials in all of your gates. What are gates? The gates of the city is, in biblical times, the place where commerce, where justice, where courts, all the important government and commercial interests were centered, would always be in the gates of the city. When it says in all your gates, it means, those are the places where the center is. This is to make sure that every city has its court, this is its judicial system and its police system. In all of the places and, or the gates that the Lord God has given to each of your tribes, and they will judge the nation a just trial, a just judgment. Okay, so here we have this idea, justice, judgment. Things need to be right. They need to be according to law, and they have to have justice. And then we have here instructions to the judges itself. You shall not judge unfairly. You shall show no partiality. You shall not take bribes, for bribes blind the eyes of the discerning and upset the plea of the just. And here it really puts before us exactly what is the problem with bribery. Because somebody who has received a gift from one of the sides in a dispute, there's no question he's going to view that side more favorably, and he will not be capable, and this is a recognition of human nature, he will not be capable of judging fairly in that case. You shall pursue justice, and it's saying, justice you shall pursue, that you may thrive and occupy the land that the Lord your God is giving you. And here we have a very important connection. It's not just, this is a good thing to do. Everybody needs to do it all over the world. But God is saying, when I bring you into my land, I want you to ensure that my land will be a land where justice is served. And if there is injustice, this is going to be a reason to get rid of you off the land, because it says you need to make sure that justice is here in order that you will thrive on the land. If you do not have justice, then you will not be able to stay on the land. Okay, so this is how it begins, this whole idea, okay? And I think that then we go on and we talk about, things having to do with idolatry and things having to do with appointing a king. This is also something having to do, I would like to look at the verses about appointing a king because that is also very relevant to what we're talking about here. After you have entered the land, this is chapter 17, verse 14. After you have entered the land that the Lord your God has assigned to you and taken possession of it and settled in it, you will decide, okay, or you will say, I will set a king over me as do all the nations about me. You shall be free to set a king over yourself, one chosen by the Lord your God. Be sure to set as a king over yourself one of your own people. He should be your brother, it says literally in the voice. You must not set a foreigner over you, one who is not your brother. Moreover, he shall not keep many horses or send people back to Egypt to add to his horses. Since the Lord has warned you, you must not go back that way again. And he shall not have many wives, lest his heart go astray, nor shall he amass silver and gold to excess. So this verse, if the Torah portion begins with the need to appoint judges and policemen, this verse tells us about what we call today the executive branch of the government, the ultimate leader, the political leader, whether it's a president, whether it's a prime minister, whatever, in any system, this is the equivalent. And in the ancient world, of course, that position was a king. What's very interesting here is that it doesn't say you must appoint a king. The verse does not begin with verse 15 that says, appoint a king. Okay? What it starts with is in verse 14, if you say, I would like to appoint a king. And there have been many debates over the centuries. What was the ideal? Did God want the nation to appoint a king or not? Now, if we'll remember, when the nation comes to Samuel, for many, many centuries, okay, for more than 400 years, there was no king in Israel. There was tribal governors, there were the occasional judges that God brought to deliver the nation, but there was no king. So here they were, they had been in the land for hundreds of years and yet didn't have a king. And it's only, Samuel, of course, was a very righteous leader. He was not only the prophet, but he functioned more as a national leader of sorts, okay? And it's the nation that comes to Samuel then and begs him to appoint a king. And Samuel is not happy. In the end, he does, and God tells him to appoint Saul, and there is then the first king in Israel. But Samuel is not happy about this. Now, basically, it's clear that Samuel reads this verse not as you must appoint a king, but only if you request a king, you are then able to appoint a king. And if you're already appointing a king, you have to be sure that it follows this requirements. A king must be from amongst Israel. It must be your brother. He cannot be from another nation. And you have to be sure that he doesn't amass too much property, not horses, not women, not gold and silver. And so it's very interesting here with this commandment, giving the opportunity to appoint a king, but making sure the king does not have absolute power. Limiting his power, and by the way, this idea of not having too many horses goes to military power, because in the ancient world, horses was a sign of military power. There's no question that the nation should have the ability to defend itself. But when you have a king that's allowed to amass too many horses, the fear is that he will be building an army not to defend the nation, but to revel in his own power. And he may then take the nation to war, not because the nation needs to go to war, but because the king wants to go from king of a small country to an emperor of a large country. And this is, of course, something that the Bible is warning against. So is a king a good thing or not? It's not clear. The jury is still out on that. But what is clear is that the king himself is not the king as would have been defined in the ancient world. So again, we are talking about a system of governance that includes perhaps a king with limited power, includes judges, includes police. But what is important about all of this is that they are all bound by God's commandments, and they are all bound to act in the interest of justice, not in the interest of their own ego. A powerful message indeed. Have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'd like to be sure you're getting all of our video content. So just click on the subscribe button below as well as on the notification bell, and that way you will have easy access to all our material. We look forward to staying in touch with you. God bless you, and have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'd like to be sure you're getting all of our video content. So just click on the subscribe button below as well as on the notification bell, and that way you will have easy access to all our material. We look forward to staying in touch with you. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.